Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to another action figure review. As today we're going to be taking a look at one of my all-time favorite animated series, which is Gargoyles. And here we have the Gargoyles action figures released by Kenner in 1996. Now, Gargoyles is probably one of the deepest and darkest shows that I was able to watch as a kid, and I can honestly tell you it's probably in my top 3 or top 5 favorite animated series of all time. So if you haven't seen the Gargoyles animated series, go ahead and do so, because it is, like I said, one of the most in-depth storytelling that I have seen for a children's cartoon show, and it definitely ranks up there as one of the best. And I cannot praise it enough because it is just absolutely awesome, and the story is just really great, and the character development is just packed with so much emotions and betrayal, and the history and backstory of how these gargoyles turned from regular gargoyles in Castle Wyvern all the way up to New York City in present day. So it's just one of those shows that needs to be watched and really be reviewed in depth, because it just contains so much information that you have to enjoy and explore the lore of gargoyles. So without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and take a look at these figures and just see how great they really are. So up first, we're going to be taking a look at the Manhattan Clan's leader, aka Goliath, and this figure is just really awesome, and Goliath is definitely one of the coolest main heroes of any animated series and group of characters. Goliath has been through so much trauma, so much betrayal, so much anger, that you can't help but to have so much sympathy for this character throughout all his trials and tribulations within the animated series. Now, granted that this character doesn't look 100% like the cartoon, but I do give Kenner credit for at least trying to provide that bulky body design with the yellow eyes, even though they're a little bit wonky, but that's okay. And I just love how he's kind of smiling when I wish he kind of had more of an anger facial expression, but you know, I guess they wanted to give more of the light side to Goliath. He has the pointy gargoyle's ears, and yeah, the body type is just pretty more on the stubby side, so I guess that's good because it does capture that gray purplish aesthetic color scheme that he has in the actual animated series. He has the blue belt with the gold buckle, and then the maroonish brown cloth piece hanging from the crotch, and then the bottom half looks pretty good. And there's not much articulation on these figures other than from the legs and arms, which are movable, and the toes are sculpted nicely. I just wish that there was more coloring or detail within the actual rest of the figures, but that's really okay. You can see there's like a gold trim bracelet around the actual right arm, and then the wings are very nicely done, as they are sculpted in more simplistic style, but they have that animated feel, as it is light purple on top with the darker purples in the interior. And he does have the gimmick of having his wings spread out roughly like that. By pressing his legs together, he kind of has like the wing flapping action, and the figure itself is just really cool. I mean, despite having not much articulation, even if you were a kid owning this figure, you would absolutely love it because it just screams out gargoyles. And of course, you can't have the gargoyles without the signature tails as well. So yeah, I mean, I know a lot of these figures do come with weapons, but I decided to just get them loose because in the actual cartoon they don't really, carry weapons as much. And Goliath still rocks the 90s mullet, which I thought was pretty interesting. But overall, when it comes to character development, he is by far one of the coolest characters to ever grace the animated series realm, because the amount of loss that he suffered throughout leading his clan from Castle Wyvern all the way up to Manhattan is just crazy, especially with his rivalry with David Xanatos, Phaelog, Demona, and so many more. So yeah, other than that, there's really not much else to say other than wish there was more articulation for these figures, because they would have been fantastic, but it's still great for what it is. So that is Goliath. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at the wise mentor of the Manhattan Clan, which is none other than Hudson. And this guy is the mentor to Goliath with a lot of knowledge and wisdom on certain events of the past and present. And his facial expression is actually really awesome. Now, he does come with one blinded eye, as they do showcase how he received it in the animated series. But the rest of the figure just is sculpted very nicely. I love the beard. I love the wisdom attributes that they gave him with the one eye and then the ogre-like teeth. And the skin tones came out very well. I love the brown armor pieces contrasting against the darker blues, the gold belt buckle with the blue strap, and then the brown, light brownish beige pants. He does come with his signature sword, which is used in the animated series, and he does have quite a bit of weight to him with a nice bulky musculature, and I just love the aesthetic and design of this character with his wings being brown on the interior and then darker blue on the back, and you can just see even the nice sculpting of the armor and the signature tail as well. He does have more of a basic stance of him leaning a little bit forward with bended knees, but I wish there was more articulation there. You can see some straps and the toes, which are designed pretty well, and the bracelets with the pins on the blues look really good. And yeah, other than that, it's a really solid figure. I just love how this character's story arc within the animated series really showcased how much he has gone through and tries to struggle with his one blinded eye. With, you can also see the scar right there, which I don't know, is really, really cool. And other than that, the real highlight here is also, how each gargoyle has their own signature wings, but I love how his wings are more like ripped on the edges, which really adds some nice characteristics to the style. It shows you that he's been through a couple of battles and really helps Goliath, tame his anger and come to his senses a lot of times when Goliath almost loses his temper. So despite the left arm not having any articulation, at least the right arm does, so it allows you to give you that spinning action of moving his torso, which moves one of his legs and gives you more of a slicing dice action. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So that is Hudson. So up next within the Manhattan clan, we have none other than Brooklyn, and this guy is more of the mischievous and energetic character within the Manhattan clan, as he basically loved to go on adventures and kind of see what the world really had to offer in Manhattan. And the really cool thing about this character is that he went through some crazy situations within the animated series, as he saw how the world really is when it comes to the darkness of it, where there's robberies, there's deaths happening, and just people getting sick, and it just showed him that there's more to life than just having fun. And despite being the character who rode the motorcycle and was more free fall and wanted to be second in command as a leader, him and Goliath butted heads pretty well, and yeah, it just showed you that how much he had a lot to learn. But the sculpting of this one is pretty decent. I love how he has more of like a rounded face with the yellowish eyes. He does have an articulated jaw, which is pretty cool. I love how he has the gold belt buckle with the brown strap and the blue cloth piece. His wings are one of the highlights here, as he has more of the hands on the top and more of a solid design compared to the rest. And the interior is a darker maroonish compared to the lighter reds or browns on the outside, which is again more of a simpler aesthetic to it. Not much detail, but you can see his long hair strands coming there from the back, and he does have the gimmick where it just articulates his ears up and down. I'm sure the jaw will move too, but I guess mine doesn't really work. But yeah, he does have minor hair there on the sides with the horns, which gives it more of a devilish feature, but still really awesome. I love his long tail, and he's more of a harder figure to stand and pose, as the articulation here is just very difficult to have him stand straight. So that's one of the downsides of these figures, is just finding toys that can actually stand well. But other than that, it's really cool. Some scratches here and there, but the facial expression is done very well, and I love how he has more of a wider nose or beak, if you want to say, and the facial expression does show like he's ready for some action and adventure. And again, he really wanted to be second in command to Goliath, but yeah, the concept is just really, really well executed. So a really misunderstood character, but definitely had a lot to learn and a lot to develop within the series, and really showcased his true nature when he had to step up to the plate when Goliath went missing. So yeah, pretty badass. There's some little minor veins and musculature there on the arms, which I do like. Torso is mostly slight muscle definition, but not too much, and everything else just came out pretty well. So that is Brooklyn. Up next in the Manhattan clan, we're going to be taking a look at Broadway. Now, this character is another one that went through some interesting trials and tribulations, as in his animated series story arc, he dealt with gun violence as he unintentionally shot Eliza Maza and learned how to be more cautious with these things. And on top of that, he just loved watching detective movies, and he's one of those characters that loves eating food. So I love how they gave his body more of a stubbier attribute, because that's more in the actual animated series. His facial expressions is more of a derpier look, but I love how he has the lighter bluish gray tones, which really does make the figure pop compared to the other ones. The teeth came out pretty well. I kind of wish that his eyes were looking straight rather than up, but I guess that's okay. There's some dings and nicks on these figures, but it's fine. This figure has the darker blue loincloth with the gold bell buckle trim and the brown belt, and more of a open hands and slight muscle definition, but not too much, because again, he's more of a foodie character and lover of jalapenos, and everything about it is pretty cool. You can see his tail curves in a different angle compared to the other figures. The back is more of a simplistic side with minor sculpting on the wings, giving you more of that lighter blue tones. And I love how the interior has more of a teal, darker green compared to the lighter blues or lighter grayish greens, which really contrasts in the color scheme of things. And the wings are, unlike the other ones, he has more of a longer arch to it, so it gives you more versatility to it. And unfortunately, these figures don't really have their wings fold out a lot more, or like stretch out a lot more, which I really would have desired to have, but I guess that's okay, because sometimes they can get a bit too top heavy. I love how his ears have more of the edges there on the side, giving it more like a bat-like feel, and he has like some top kind of spinal features on the top of the head, some ripped edges, and his wings are more on the arched style compared to the others. And yeah, besides the stubbier body, it's a pretty cool, decent looking figure. Just wished, again, all these would have had articulation, but they don't. So it's pretty good for what it is, but still desired a little bit more. However, he is a pretty cool character, and again, went through a lot in the animated series. So that is Broadway. And up next in the Manhattan Clan, we have Lexington, who's the shortest one amongst the group and more the tech wizard guy. And you'll notice one thing different about him compared to the other figures, as he has white eyes compared to the rest, who have the black pupils in the middle. So the thing about the white eyes is that this basically indicates their anger whenever they try to transform from the stone to actual gargoyles, or when their anger got the best of them, their eyes would light up white, which would have been really cool if the other figures had that too, because this one doesn't have it, and it still shows you that really awesome gargoyles-esque type character. And he has more of a smaller body type with a more of a royal blue cloth piece with the gold belt buckle and brown strap for the belt. And this character went through a lot in the animated series, and he also showcases a very interesting dilemma within the future tense of the gargoyles, as in the distant future he actually becomes half cybernetic and betrays the gargoyles and becomes the greatest villain of all time. So that I thought was very, very disturbing and dark for that matter. I do like how he has a very interesting pose where his gimmick is you just move his legs in and out and kind of has his wings flapping, which is a bit weird. His wings are more on a nice diamond-esque shape and with a little olive green coloring there in the back. You can see more of the like bat-esque style, and the interior is the lighterish beige compared to the olive greens on the top trims, which is pretty good. And the feet are more wider stance, bigger, and he just comes with like, he holds his weapons, but one with a fisted hand, the other one with an open fist, and kind of the goblin-esque ears and the teeth and the white eyes really just makes the figure pop. Not really much muscle definition, as he is more on the slimmer, skinnier side, but it's really cool and badass. So showcases a lot of his loyalty and assets when it comes to technology and gadgets. So that is Lexington. And up next in the Manhattan Clan, we have the pet Bronx, who is a very interesting character because he acts like the dog to the Gargoyles team and really shines throughout certain instances where he's very loyal to Hudson and sometimes sits with him while he's on the couch sleeping, and really aids Goliath in a lot of different missions. I love how his facial expression is very menacing looking with the white eyes, because it shows he didn't have the pupils and he's basically in this anger mode. I love how the color scheme is more on the darker blues. You can just see the articulation at the jaw, just moving his head up and down, which when you move one of the feet, it triggers the gimmick. You can see his spine, which looks pretty sharp and good. The musculature on this one is pretty fantastic. I love how you can see how ripped he is. This guy has been through some crazy adventures and definitely don't want to get your ass kicked by him. And I love how his ears kind of represent the wings-esque, as the interior is more of a lighter blue compared to the darker blues, the navier blues on the outside, and the small little pudgy tail. And yeah, not too much sculpting, but the overall highlight is just how much they really defined his body type and gave you all that awesome detail right there, and it just screams out a badass pet to the Gargoyles team. And again, the two big forefront teeth and then the other sharper teeth in the back, and give you that more greater design aspect to the dog-like characteristics of this character. So really awesome. Not too much else to say other than he's probably the most articulated out of the rest, because he has the jaw and the two back legs and the arms actually movable. So it's pretty awesome. So not too much else to say there other than he's one of the coolest loyal pets to the group. So that is Bronx. Up next within the, well, not necessarily the Manhattan clan, but we have a bonus figure, as we have Demona, who is the love interest to Goliath. Now, she went through some crazy storylines within the animated series, as she was Goliath's love interest right in the beginning, but after a betrayal from David Xanatos, she joins the bad guys, and on top of that joins Thaylog and the rest of their versions of the Manhattan clan, and basically tried to take back Castle Wyvern and get revenge on the humans, as she basically hates humans and wanted justice. But her character story arc just went through a lot of turmoil, and with her storyline with Macbeth and all that stuff, it just adds so much character depth and lore to this. But the overall figure is pretty decent. She does have a little bit wonkier eyes, looking left and right. Red lipstick, the tiara, the red hair kind of sticking out, which does look pretty nice and decently sculpted. She has the golden shoulder pads with the cloth piece going around the chest. I like how her belt has the same beige right here with the golden belt buckle and darker blue belt. And the skin tone is more similar to the bluish gray tones. Unlike the rest of the figures where it's purple on the inside and a different color on the outside, the trims are the blue with the purples on the inside and on the outside as well. So that's actually pretty badass. The right leg has a little gold anklet right there. I love how she also has a little golden piece around her arm. Yeah, she has a really interesting cape design, as well as it arches in a very Batman-esque style. And I like her hands that are also featured on top of the trims of the wings, which really makes it pretty menacing. And yeah, she's been through quite a lot within the animated series. So a really cool character. You just feel really bad for Goliath, because he really wanted to save her and bring her part of the good side. But with her and Goliath having a daughter named Angela, and then not realizing what she needs to do as a mother, really complicates that storyline family dynamic as well. So it's pretty badass and interesting. So not too much else to say there other than she's one of the coolest female villains of all time. So that is Demona. Alright, and last but not least, as a bonus, we have none other than Coldstone, who is a combination of two Gargoyles characters, as we have Cold Fire and Cold Steel. Now, this character has been created by David Xanatos and Demona, but it has gone through so much emotional damage within the animated series. I cannot stretch it enough how bad I feel for this character, because in the animated series, there's two characters that were combined together and they create this character right here. So it's kind of like half robotic and cybernetic and half Gargoyles-esque with an emotional heart. So it tries to find a balance between being a robot and being an actual gargoyle. Now, the thing I like about this character, it is really half designed in a lot of cybernetic metal materials and really cool looking designs of it, with the nice long hair strands and then the face plate of the steel, and then half Gargoyles-esque. And with the nice colored silver tones of the ears, and then the purples, which really do balance out the grayish tones with the golds and all that. Nice musculature body, and the overall articulation is pretty standard, but I like the blues, the silvers, and the mixing and matching between the design aspects of it. I love how his left hand has like a golden bracelet with the golden arm piece, as the right arm is more of a mechanical gimmick weapon firepower, which shoots out this red little, I guess, missile kind of thing, which is pretty awesome. And the cape itself is like that whole metal material with the rivets and pins there, with some silvers and some orange blades there as well, which can also be articulated and come out at the same time. And he has more of the rivets and pins there on the back as well, shining through the natural sunlight. And yeah, you can just see even on the gold there with the wings and stuff. And then the lever right here is one of the coolest aspects of this, because you can see we have cold fire right there, and then when you turn it, then it also turns into other characters like David Xanatos, and then you have cold steel, and then yeah, cold fire again. So it just has the three other characters that are associated to it. Lovely sculpting, guys. Probably one of the best sculpts within the actual Gargoyles Kenner line, and probably more on the rarer, harder ones to find. And the tail kind of wraps around the leg with a nice little sharp edge to it with a purple little ball there on the bottom, which is really, really awesome. So yeah, it's freaking probably one of my favorite figures to own within the Gargoyles line. I love how there's even ripped edges there on the side, giving you the mechanical features underneath the skin of the actual gargoyle-esque body. And so yeah, it's a really cool looking figure. Love the eyes, how one is orange and one is yellow with a facial expression of a yelling feature. Really, really cool. So such a badass looking figure, and I absolutely love it. So that is Coldstone. Alright, you guys, so that was my 1996 Gargoyles collection by Kenner, and like I mentioned before, it is one of the best and darkest and deepest animated series, and one of my favorites of all time. So within this video, we went over Hudson, Demona, Coldstone, Goliath, Brooklyn, Lexington, Broadway, and Bronx. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Stay tuned for part 2, as we have to go over David Xanatos, the Steel Clan, Elisa Maza, and more. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode.